Good evening, everyone. The time is 5:30 p.m. I would like to call our work session to order. Mr. Parker, could you please call the roll?
Councilman Daniels. Councilwoman
Here.
Daniels. Councilwoman Green.
Present.
Councilman Madsen.
Here.
Councilman Majors.
Here.
Councilwoman Rawls.
Present.
Councilman Rodriguez.
Present.
And Councilwoman Bowers.
Present, thank you. We will move to committee business. This evening, our sole committee business lies with the Parks, Recreation, and Enrichment Committee. So I will turn the floor over to Chair Rawls.
Thank you, President Bowers. Mr. Parker, can you please read Resolution 31 of 2022?
Yes. Resolution 31, 2022. A resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, C2P2, Park Rehabilitation and Development Subprogram for up to $250,000 for the purpose of raising more funds to develop Phase 2 of the Chutes and Ladders Playground in Reservoir Park.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. And good evening, everybody. Is there anyone from the administration or Parks and Rec and Enrichment Committee who can speak further on this? Oh, yeah. Is it on?
Is it on?
That's good. There you go. Please state your name and your position.
Good evening, council. My name is David Baker. I am the Parks and Facilities Director for the city.
Thank you. And can you please give us an overview of Resolution 31 of 2022?
Sure. So we have a few on the docket, I think, but I believe this resolution is to further our Phase 2 of Reservoir Parks Master Plan, which would be to add a tot lot and a extension to the parking lot to hopefully give everyone parking for this new expanded playground out at Reservoir Park.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to see if my fellow members have any questions. I'm going to start to my far left. Councilman Rodriguez, do you have any questions for Mr. Baker?
Thank you, Chair Rawls. Thank you for being here, Director. You were saying Resolution 31 was about the master plan?
If I'm not mistaken, Resolution 31, do you have?
I think that's 32.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you. Sorry, like I said, we have a few, so.
absolutely, yeah. Pretty much for the chutes and ladders,
Yep.
right? Okay,
31 is for shoots. And ladders.
absolutely.
I'm so sorry.
No, no worries.
Rebecca Vollmer grants.
No worries. Thank you. Is that still Phase 1, Director Baker?
It would
Two?
be phase, yeah. Phase
Okay,
2.
awesome. And then what would be the final phase for that project for the
Right, so we have many phases for Reservoir Park.
chutes and ladders, I guess?
Oh, for
specifically?
shoots and ladders, yeah. So that depends on funding. So the more funding we have, we can go with a farther phase, but the very specific, and I don't want to split hairs or confuse anyone, but the shoots and ladders portion is just shoots and ladders. And then, the toddler areas for, toddlers and whatnot. So shoots itself is kind of its own phase and its own project, but we're hoping to continue work out at Reservoir Park for many years and just make it better and better each year.
Absolutely. And for the toddler area, what kind of like safety precautions, just for liability? Like, will there be foam pads down or anything like that?
Yeah, so luckily we are working with consultants now, and we will be following all of the today's safety standards as far as safety surfacing and the type of equipment that we're using. Everything will be completely up to par with that.
Awesome. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Councilman Rodriguez. Councilwoman Daniels?
Yeah, just for the record, could you elaborate a little bit more about the grant? Like, is there more matching funds, no matching funds? Like, could you give us a little bit more?
Sure, this is a grant through DCNR. It's their C2P2 program, and the sub-program is development and park improvement. This particular grant, as you know, we match grants to grants all the time so that we can have the matching funds. So this one is being matched by a 2021 DCED GTRP grant for the same project, and also by the value of the work that CRW will be doing at the site in terms of green stormwater infrastructure, especially at the parking lot, and to help with some rain gardens and help with drainage around the site.
Then, does the 250, how much is being matched from the whole?
Yeah, so it's the 2021 GTRP grant is $150,000, and the CRW work is valued at between 150 and 175.
That's it from me.
Thank you, Councilwoman Daniels. Councilman Majors?
Thank you. So between the DCD grant, the Capital Region Water, yes, is the work in kind, or they're just, it's in kind to the city, or how's that being paid for?
So CRW pays for the work, and DCNR considers that a cash match.
Cash match, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So the work counts for itself in terms of being able to match. Are any city funds anticipated to be spent on this project? Or is this all completely grant funded?
So it's, we've had conversations with DCNR since we submitted the application, and they have said, we usually only allow you for under this program to apply for 250. They're willing to allow us to apply for 275. They really strongly support this project, and they want to give the funding. If we were to increase the ask to 275 and we put in 5,000 of the city's dollars, we could then match at exactly 275. So the ask would be 550 instead of 500.
Okay.
And this is sort of, I tried to get them to change the actual application in the portal, but we submitted this on April 6th, and they said, well, we're not going to ask our IT guys to do that. However, we do everything in email after the fact. So I've got an email chain and several conversations with Lori Yike from DCNR saying, listen, we'll let you ask for more, and your match will cover it if we've got the 150 from GTRP, the 150 from the DCNR, the CRW in-kind GSI work, and then 5,000 from the city.
Okay, and then my last question, I think you answered it. Your answer there was this grant application has already been submitted.
Yes.
Okay, so then I guess just an inquiry for us is, should we change the language to a resolution authorizing or to a resolution ratifying this submission? And we've done that in the past. Now that's more of a question for just because in the timing is when it came down.
Can you please speak into the microphone? Thank you.
So you can change it to
Okay.
ratify it if you like, and as if you also as you wish, if you'd like to amend it to, as she mentioned, to accept the 275 instead of 250, you can do that as well.
All right, thank you. No further questions at this time.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Majors. And can we agree to change that information? That's not something we have to vote on, right? You'll be able to change that information for the resolution into we're authorized, not authorizing, but we are ratifying. Okay,
Yes, you can.
okay. We don't have to do anything further right now.
Well, you could make a motion to amend it, or to make a motion to amend it to make the ask 275 instead of 250. And then with respect to ratify, you can make a motion to vote on ratifying.
Okay, but we wouldn't do that into our legislative session, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. President Bowers, do you have any questions?
Just a clarifying question. Thank you. Good evening. My question is, in March, we took action, which I guess precipitated the April 8th submission of the application. So the resolution that seems comparable to this one is Resolution 19 of 2022. So all of these are simply an extension of those resolutions with the application.
They are, and I'm so sorry for taking your time to do this. They are including, DCNR has its own specific DCNR resolution form, which has essentially the same language as ours does, but they were very specific that they wanted their form also included. So what this includes is the entire application, including DCNR's form. At the very end, it's a one-page thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Green, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Good evening. I don't have any questions. The question that I did have was answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Madsen, my brain went flop.
That was me
Um,
too. No questions from me.
You're welcome. I don't have any questions either. Mine's been answered. So I will move to put Resolution 31 of 2022 on our next legislative agenda, please. And then, Mr. Parker, can you please read Resolution 32 of 2022 in?
Resolution 32, 2022. A resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, C2P2, Community Recreation and Conservation Planning Subprogram for up to $100,000 to help fund a Harrisburg City Parks Master Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Either Mr. Baker or Ms. Ballmer, would you like to further explain this resolution?
Right, so this is the second of 3 DCNR grants that were submitted on April 6th. And this is the same procedure as the one preceding, which is we're submitting the entire application, including that very last page, which is DCNR's resolution form.
Okay. So this is what we've already voted on, like you said, you just have to put in the DCR's portion of the application. Okay, thank you. I'll start again to my far left, and Councilman Rodriguez, do you have any questions?
No questions on this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilwoman Daniels, do you have any questions?
This is just for my edification. Could you kind of go over where we are in this process in terms of the master plan? Because I feel like we've been funding it for a long time and I don't know where we are. I don't know what's completed. I don't know what's left.
Sure.
All right, so I understand how you're getting that feeling. I kind of have the same feeling. So with this, I think it's a little confusing because as Rebecca was saying, and we kind of already went through all this stuff. So we are just about, I mean, we're really close to groundbreaking for phase 1 or the actual shoots portion of this project. But the beauty of out of Reservoir Park, since we have this overarching master plan, we're funding multiple different phases. So it kind of feels like we're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. But what's going to happen is we're going to start construction with phase 1. And that doesn't mean we need to complete phase 1 to then start phase 2 and so on and so forth. We're actually hoping to start both of those phases in similar times. So it has taken a long time, but we are hoping to start construction rather soon. And then once we do that, it's going to hopefully be done before we know it. Multiple phases, not just one.
So this, okay, so I'm a little, so this is not funding the plan itself, it's funding the execution.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. So this is a plan. So again, this stuff confuses me, the C2P2, all that different stuff. So this is for
This is for the parks master plan.
yeah, master. Okay. So yeah, I apologize there. So this funding is actually going to give us that roadmap forward throughout the city to do similar to what we've done at Reservoir Park with our master plan for Reservoir Park. But this will allow us to do equity studies throughout the city to find out who's in need of what where, and then how we can best serve our residents throughout the city, and maybe give us that roadmap forward for them when we do get the funding. We know ahead of time on what we want to prioritize and what we can do with the funds available.
Didn't we do something like this?
I think this may sound familiar because last year we went almost, we went to the very final stage of it. It was the NRPS. It's a different granting agency. It's a foundation, private foundation.
The one from New York, right? The
Yeah,
Central
and,
Park
right, and
Foundation.
we created this whole video and we had a Zoom interview, and
It was identical to this.
it was identical, yeah, and it was kind of heartbreaking because we thought
We
we
were
were so
this close to
close.
that one,
Okay.
but we
Yeah.
did not get that. We didn't receive those funds. So now we're going after it in this form.
So prior to this resolution, there wasn't any previous grants or funding for the master plan.
Since I've been here, we have not applied until last year and now again here for a park master plan that would be a plan for the park system for the whole city. So including everything, City Island, parts of the Greenbelt, every park that we've got. This is at least in the 4.5 years that I've been here, this is the sort of first time that we've been, well, except for last year's NRPS, that we've been applying for a citywide kind of holistic park master plan. It's the same idea as what we have for Reservoir Park, but like a much broader scale.
Yeah, it just sounds really familiar but I need to go back and look at prior resolution, but it sounds like, it almost feels like the pool study where we had several pool studies. And I feel like this is happening, but the pandemic has almost kind of corrupted my sense of time.
And
So some of my thinking might be as a result of that, but that's it for me then.
So we do much more pointed studies on every single park before we do those parks. So you do see a lot of these. This is a much more, I don't want to say vague, but it's not near as detailed. So it's a much larger area and a much less detail. But you do see stuff like this on a regular basis. Anytime we do a new park project, you'll see something like this that it shows all the nuts and the bolts of the project we have to get a consultant to do for us. So you see a lot of them.
Yeah, the word plan and design comes up a lot, especially for DCNR.
Is that good? Councilwoman Daniels? Councilman Majors?
Yeah, thank you. And to Councilwoman Daniels' point, I know since we've been on council together, we've done a couple of these. We did it for several parks that we've done upgrades for. So I know it all looks familiar, but I do not recall a whole plan. I know we were looking at maybe 4 or 5 parks that we did a master plan in the study for to redo, including Park in South Harrisburg,
Oh, right.
on Ralston Street, 4th and Emerald. Now I'm gonna think Sylvan Terrace, and there was one other one. I know there were 4 or 5 parks that we did something similar to as well. So I know we get a number of these, and we're always looking for funding so that the city's not having to put up all its own money. I think since it is similar, it's part of that whole just 3 different applications. No further questions. Just wanted to clarify. I know we've done this, and I'm glad. Unfortunately, we didn't get the funding last time, but hopefully we'll be able to work to get this funding for all 3 of these application submissions through DCNR. So if we aren't successful, are there other areas that we're looking to for grant funding, or we're going to wait to see what happens with this and then potentially pursue another grant opportunity?
So we have very strong indications that these 3 projects are being looked on very favorably by DCNR. The suggestion from them that we apply for this greater amount for Truth and Ladders was sort of one part of a couple of conversations that we had after we submitted the applications, which is kind of how grants typically work. Is we'll submit the grant and then we'll talk to the people we know at the organization, and we'll sort of go back and forth. Well, what about this? And we'd like a little bit more information about that. And can you give us a bigger map, like that kind of thing? We have a pretty solid indication that I think will be successful this time. If not, and because you never know, there's the Dauphin County Gaming Grant, which for the Master Parks Plan actually would probably be about enough money. I think we're allowed to apply for 150 for the gaming grant. We apply for, we also applied for a DCED, another DCED GTRP grant for more parks money. And we just, every time there's an opportunity to ask for money for parks, we take it. We actually, in fact, it's small. We got a $5,000 grant. I just learned this morning from the giant food company, the Keeping Pennsylvania Beautiful, to put rain gardens in Italian Lake. So it's nice. It's small, but it's a really sweet project, and it does sort of tend to be a momentum game. And once you get one grant or two grants, especially if the agency has buy-in, they're interested in seeing the project through. So that's helpful. So we have that momentum with both DCNR and DCED.
Okay, and just one question. In the resolution, we identify that it's a 1-to-1 match grant, but we don't know what that match would be. So
Right.
but we're just waiting to see if we get it, and then we'll look for a match, or is the city gonna
We did
put up
budget.
funds?
So you allowed us to budget for a match for this
this,
exact
for-
dance.
This
Okay.
particular one.
All right,
I know.
thank you. Thank you, Chair.
President Bowers, do you have any questions?
No, just wanted to clarify that this one is a continuation of Resolution 17 of 2022, just for those who are following. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Vice President Green, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I don't have any questions on this. Thank you.
Welcome. Councilman Matson, do you have any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I knew this was a continuation, so that you needed the extra paperwork. I don't have any questions. I asked on mine when we did this in April. So I will ask that be placed on the agenda for our legislative session, please, Mr. Parker, Resolution 32 of 2022. And then can you please read Resolution 33 of 2022 in?
Yes. Resolution 33, 2022. A resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to enter into a landowner grantee agreement with Capital Area Greenbelt Association, allowing the Capital Area Greenbelt Association to construct riparian forest buffers on the city's property.
Thank you. And would either one of you please like to further explain Resolution 33 of 2022?
So I believe this is similar as the first two. Yeah, right. As far as, right, well, I'm just putting my foot in my mouth all night tonight. So, anyways, so this is a pretty straightforward one. This is allowing us to give the Greenbelt Association, or CAGA, the access to, well, the ability to put riparian buffers in our land on the Greenbelt for us. So it's no charge to us. They do all the work for us. It's a volunteer group. They do wonderful things for the city year after year, and this allows them to do that.
Thank you. Before I have my committee members ask questions, I did have one, well, not a question, but more of a clarification. Could you further explain to myself and the residents here and online exactly what are buffers and why do we need them?
So in a nutshell, it basically, it slows the path of the water to reduce runoff, sediment erosion and runoff throughout the area. So it's keeping the waterways cleaner, keeping the soil where it's supposed to be, and not putting it into the waterways.
Thank you very much. To my far left, Councilman Rodriguez, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Chair Rawls. Director Baker, would that include kind of like the rock substrate that holds or slows down the water as well, and the layers, kind of like CRW does?
Yeah, so to the best of my knowledge, the buffer can be, anything that slows the
Okay.
path of water down, really.
Okay, That was my question about the riparian buffer, so thank you. No further questions.
Councilwoman Daniels, do you have any questions?
Yeah, this is for maybe the solicitor's office. Can you elaborate a little bit on the legal relationship between CAGA and the city for purposes of this arrangement?
Sure. So what happens is that CAGA got a grant, I believe, from DCNR, correct? So they got a grant from DCNR to do this riparian buffer work. However, contingent part of that grant, they had to show that they had permission from the city of Harrisburg to do the work. So they would be the operating organization. So they're essentially doing work that Harrisburg doesn't quite have the capacity to do. So essentially what we would do is we enter into a contract, and if you look at Exhibit A, there's a contract in there giving them permission to get on our landowner agreement. I think, and we sent a letter as well to them. Okay, that was DEP. So essentially we have to give them permission. So the relationship is simply that we have an agreement with them that they may come onto our land to do this specific work for the purposes of the DCNR grant. So think about it, there's DCNR gives CAGA a grant. CAGA gets permission to come onto our land to perform the grant work on our land to fulfill the requirements of the grant. We are in agreement that we need that work and we want that work on our land, and therefore DCNR can give them money. So if that, hopefully that.
So they're guests on the property.
Essentially, I mean, guests, if you were doing that, they would like invited guests. They are really, I don't want to call them contractors because they're grants, I mean, they're grantees, but essentially they are doing work that we want done. And thankfully, DCNR is giving them the grant money to do that work.
And then, I doubt this is likely to happen, but is there like an agreement? Let's say they really mess something up. I don't know. Like if they,
Sure,
as they're creating this buffer, I don't know, they damage whatever and it creates a liability for the city. Of who is responsible for?
There would be, let me see if I can point you to a specific provision in the agreement. So ultimately, we would be responsible, but we'd be able to hold them accountable for anything they would do on there.
As far as you know, are they insured?
Imagine. Yeah.
But that's the
It would be
That's a-
nice to know that.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. That works. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilman Majors?
Thank you. No questions at this time.
Thank you. And are we able to find out if they are insured? So, Councilwoman Daniels, or all of us can have the answer to that question just for future. I think that was a good question with liability. President Bauer?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify the terms of this agreement. So it's for at least 25 years. And I see that there are special provisions for the first 5 years of the agreement that the Capital Area Greenbelt Association will store the riparian plantings through annual maintenance. And then for the duration of the agreement, they will provide reasonable and routine maintenance. Is that correct? Okay. That was all. I just wanted to clarify those terms. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Green?
Thank you. I don't have any questions on this.
Councilman Matson?
No questions for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have no further questions. Mine were asked as well. I was wondering about the liability and some clarification on some of the words. So I will ask that Resolution 33 of 2022 be placed on the agenda for next legislative session. And then Mr. Parker, can you please read Resolution 34 of 2022 and?
Yes. Resolution 34, 2022. A resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, C2P2 Rivers Conservation Subprogram for up to $1 million for funds to restore and rehabilitate the stream bed of Spring Creek.
Thank you. And would one of you like to further explain Resolution 34, 2022? Although I do believe we had this one before too, I think. And is it okay, but further explain before I ask anything.
So this is the third of the April 6th DCNR C2P2 applications that we submitted. This one, you probably will feel like you're seeing the name CAGA or the Greenbelt Association come up a lot, which is true because they have been on fire lately, just applying for all kinds of grants, and I have to give it to them. They're very successful in getting money, which is exciting. In August of last year, we applied to PennDOT, the Transportation Alternative Set Aside Program, for $1 million to rehabilitate the pathway along the Paxton Parkway section of the Greenbelt. And that application was successful. There was no match required for that, which is great. This is sort of the sister or sibling application to that. This is restoring the creek bed. It's the same section of the trail. The match for this grant is that PennDOT grant that was received. So the city doesn't have to spend any money at all to get a super beautiful section of the Greenbelt totally restored. Ironically, we'll probably do the creek first and then the actual pathway, because part of what is happening is that the creek, all the stormwater and runoff is undercutting the bank, the trail. So this is a sister to that. And again, we have very, very strong indication from DCNR that they're excited to fund this. So, and this is the same situation where they are asking for, they're looking for their specific resolution form, that one-page form at the end. So that's what this thing is. It's the same resolution that you guys passed in March for this, but just all the paperwork behind it.
Thank you very much. I'll start to my far left. Councilman Rodriguez, do you have any questions?
No, Chair Rose, no questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilwoman Daniels, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Councilman Majors, do you have any questions?
Just one. So just concerned about making sure that the period of performance aligns so that all this work can be done in the order that it needs to be. I agree, it makes the most sense to get into the creek, fix the stream bed before you do any of the other riparian buffers and everything else, because you're going to be doing disturbance in that waterway, and we want to make sure. So I just want to make sure that we have enough time to perform all the work, given all these different pieces that we're looking at exploring.
Absolutely. We actually had a meeting with PennDOT, a sort of a staging meeting. We all went out and walked up and down the trail and ticked off lots of boxes and sort of had a big discussion. There were like 20 people from PennDOT. It was kind of interesting. So that grant is a 4-year period of performance. DCNR tends to be 3 years, but both organizations know that we're applying for both. So as we go through the process, we'll make sure that if we need to get an extension, we will. But it's a great question. I totally
Okay.
understand.
Thank you. No further questions.
You're welcome. President Bowers.
No question, just a comment. So the companion resolution that we passed in March is Resolution 18 of 2022. Thank you.
You're welcome. Vice President Green, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Councilman Rouse. I do not have any questions on this.
Welcome. And Councilman Matson, do you have any questions?
No question for me, thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't have any questions either. So I ask that Resolution 34 of 2022 be placed on the agenda for our next legislative session. And if my members have no further questions, that ends the business of the Parks and Recreation and Enrichment Committee.
Thank you. We will now move to public comment. Just a reminder, please state your name, your address, or the vicinity in which you live, and you'll have 2 minutes to share your comments. Mr. Parker will serve as our timekeeper. there anyone in the far right section that would like to offer public comment?
Good evening, council. First, I have to, Ron Johnson, 1847 Zarka Street, Neighborhood Square Watch. I did the math. July the 3rd, 539, I believe it is. It'll be 17 years that I've been doing this. First, I want to thank the president of City Council for attending the community meeting where we found out that from 18th and Dairy all the way till 22 South 19th Street is having the same problem. Rodents, all kind of vermin running all over the hilltop communities, and nothing is being done. I started this thing back in April, trying to have 22 South 19th Street cleaned up. The back, it's been a vacant property for the last 14 years. And now it's an illegal dump site. The city came out last month, cleaned the alleyway out. Codes was supposed to be contacted and come out. We did all the proper procedures with the paperwork and everything. Still, nothing is being done. When you see big rats, big as cats running across stuff like that, shouldn't no resident of this city have to live next door to them? So my thing is, if I've been coming down here, I think I missed one meeting. That was last Tuesday. And I keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. Nothing's being done. Now, y'all know I like the media. And I'm trying not to go there, but I'm getting ready to go to the media. I'm getting ready to go to the state. And I'm going to say this is a public health hazard. Because if one of them kids in that row of 9 homes get bit, attacked, or anything, what you think is going to happen? So something has to be done and has to be done soon. We can't, I even called Ann Montgomery, left a message for her to get in contact with me. That was back in April. Nothing. This is sad. Then I understand there's this list of demolition properties and stuff. I bet we're not on it. Then when something happens, what's going to happen with the city?
Mr. Johnson, if you wouldn't mind staying after to talk to Councilman Rodriguez, perhaps there's another contact within codes other than Director Montgomery. Is there anyone else in the right section that would like to offer public comment?
Murray, 1616 Revere Street, Harrisburg. We're having a back to school extravaganza. Juan's Wings has collaborated with All You Can to provide the resources for the event. It's going to be a 7th in Radnor from 12 to 4 on August the 6th. No registration required. We'll be giving away school supplies and clothes and else you really want to give away along those lines for the kids to get back to school. And if you have any questions, I will have a flyer available.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the right section that would like to offer public comment?
Yes, my name is Kenneth Hughes. I have a property at 2023, which got burnt up back in 2019. Granted, I just stuck a lot of money into it. And from my understanding, it was arson. All 3 houses burnt up. Now, I do renal failure. So a lot of times I was able to fix my own house, but at this time I got to do dialysis 3 times a week. I done went to Patty Kim. I've been trying to find some help and everything. I keep running the brick walls. And I don't know what I could do, but I went and I cut the grass, got poison ivy, got real bad. You know what I mean? I'm trying to maintain the property and I don't know what I could do right now. So I'm looking for some help. And I want to know where or how I can get some kind of assistance with this property.
If you two wouldn't mind just waiting after the meeting to speak to myself and Councilman Rodriguez regarding the matter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you Make sure that you're speaking directly into the microphone.
Sure.
Thank
sure.
you.
I do apologize. So Sunday morning, roughly around 3 a.m., my son was hit by a hit and run driver at the corner of the intersection of 13th and Sycamore. He is currently in critical condition in ICU. No one from the ambulance police dropped him off at Holy Spirit Hospital. No one from the police department has been there to interview him, take a statement, or anything along those lines. I contacted the Harrisburg Police Department, shifted around from dispatcher 98 to eventually to Corporal Covey, who was very dismissive and advised that my son needed to email the first responding officer. He's in critical condition. As a matter of fact, he's just underwent his second surgery, 10:30 this morning, because he's all broken up. Like I said, it was a hit and run. The car tossed him into the air, hitting the ground. Excuse me. Corporal Covey wanted, she didn't want to hear anything I was saying in regards to this and getting someone there to take a statement from him to get this reported correctly. No one has, pulled the cameras from that particular area. She asked me, is he a minor child? Is he paralyzed? Like, why are you talking for him? Well, he's in ICU, he's unconscious, and this needs to be resolved. I mean, something needs to happen. That's the case. Anyone can cross the street and be run down by a car and the car keeps.
Thank you. Please know that your son and your family are in our thoughts and prayers. Is there anyone else in the right section that would like to offer public comment? Seeing no one, is there anyone in the middle section that would like to offer public comment?
Hi, my name is Brandon Basom from the 3000 block of North Third Street. And my comment is actually somewhat related to this one.
Excuse me, sir.
Oh,
Could
I'm
you?
sorry. Am I not on the microphone? Hold on, let me, very tall. Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. A couple of months ago, as you all know, but just setting some scene here, the city and PennDOT were set to build infrastructure and perform a road diet on State Street. As many of you know, there is no way safely up the hill, going up to Allison Hill or anywhere east of Cameron Street at the moment. You're on anything but an automobile. If you're a pedestrian, if you're a cyclist, if you're a skateboarder, you're kind of out of luck. You have to play in traffic, and odds are you're going to get hurt. Narrowing and reducing the number of lanes along that street, putting in better sidewalks, putting in a bike lane, some pedestrian infrastructure, bump outs, and raised crosswalks would absolutely save lives. We've seen it time and again all around the world, everywhere it's tried. Unfortunately, the city stopped this construction, and when its new plans were unveiled a little bit ago, there was no reduction of lanes nor any real measures that will protect anyone or anything beside the 3-foot buffer by the cars, which will protect car doors, as we all know. They're the real. We have been saying from the start that a lack of safe streets all throughout the city, connecting the city, only continue to cause unnecessary death and injury. For years, the city told us its hands are tied, that PennDOT was unwilling to take action, that didn't have the funding. Now, it's the city itself that stopped a project that would have created a safe route connecting parts of the city, east and the west of Cameron Street. Now, any blood resulting from failing on this administration's hands. Now, as you may know, aside from the unfortunate son, a bike rider was hit this Friday night on the corner of Cameron and Market Street. He passed this Sunday. By not giving residents like her a safe way to go about their business, about their lives, get to work, shopping, to take care of their kids, as they need to, the city is now largely responsible for this death, and as well as 2 pedestrians killed in the prior 10 months and many others injured for entirely preventable reasons. I don't like the narrative that this is residents versus bike riders. I mean, I know that some homeowners didn't like parts of the project, but quite honestly, the people being hurt and killed are residents. They're residents of those areas. They're residents of other areas, have to move through those areas in order to meet the needs.
Sir, your time has expired.
It is, okay, well then, hold on, I'm sorry. I want to finish with two things, just really quickly, and I apologize. I'm gonna skip the part where we all know that one life is too many. I would urge council to protect the vulnerable and refuse any plan that comes before you without reducing the number of lanes, physical protections for pedestrians, cyclists, and other non-car transportation users. Nobody's quick commute through the city is worth cutting and down so many lives short. And then lastly, we're gonna have a small memorial event at the corner of Cameron and Market Street. We're gonna be putting this bike out, saying a few words. I invite all of you to come and show that we're not gonna suffer this in silence anymore, that every single life lost, that every single person hurt will be accounted for and will have a voice, even if they can't fix it. Thank you.
Sir, when will that occur?
It'll be tonight at 8:45 at Cameron and Market Street on the corner. We got permission from the YMCA to put the ghost bike out, and we'll give a little speech and have anyone who wants to say a few words.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the middle section that would like to offer public comment? Seeing no one, anyone in the left? Seeing no one, just one reminder of the final State Street rapid response public meeting that will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, June 22nd, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Harrisburg School District Building, formerly Lincoln School. The time is 6:17, council members. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We stand adjourned.